Hi Simon, it's good to see you again.
Yes.
Now, obviously we've worked together before, but just a reminder to you, and it's an important point, and I know I mention it to you from time to time, but that's about confidentiality. So it's extremely important that you feel you can say whatever you like when we're working together, and that it's confidential in this space. So just a reminder to you. So what is it that you would like to get out of our discussion today?
Yeah, well, I've recently had some feedback in terms of my work performance, I guess, that in terms of delegating to people, and that I've had a few people saying I maybe should do more delegation. My experience with delegation in the past is that then tends to, I guess, maybe create more work than it saves, so I'm a bit hesitant to do it. But there are quite a few people whose opinions I value that are saying to me I should be delegating more, and that would free up time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the purposes of today and looking and really drilling down into what's most useful to you, and considering the timing that we've got, so just 15 minutes for this conversation, what is it that you would like to focus on?
Well, I guess the first step is just to make a decision. Am I going to take this feedback on board, and how would I then sort of, what's my first step if I am going to take this feedback on board? But also, I guess it's initially just making a decision, okay, am I going to take this feedback on board, or am I going to rely on past experience and think maybe that's not the way to go?
Okay.
I need to get some clarity there, I guess, yeah.
Okay. So by the end of this conversation together, what is it that you want?
What do I want? Yes, some clarity on my next move regarding delegation.
Okay. So within this conversation, if you get clarity on your next move, with regard to delegation, you said?
Yes, yeah.
With regard to delegation, that would be useful?
Yes, very good. Yeah.
Okay, and just connecting it to the bigger picture, I guess, what's the purposes of this for you, or what would the benefits be as a leader, I guess?
I guess linked to sort of some, as you say, bigger picture outcomes I'm trying to achieve. I'm trying to create more time for myself and be more efficient in what I'm doing. And in discussions with people, they've suggested, well, one way to create more time is to delegate. And I guess what they're saying is, you know, the flow-on effect from that is that I give more responsibility to people, share the sort of the responsibility around, so there's some flow-on benefits as well. But the main outcome from a bigger picture point of view I'm looking for is to create more time for myself.
Okay, so create more time for yourself, but I can hear that there are benefits for others, as well as your own leadership development perhaps.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so if we were to word it as a question that you wanted answered, what might the question be?
A question that I want answered. Okay. Do I think it's worthwhile delegating to people?
Okay. So by me asking you these questions, I'm really trying to get below the surface, I guess, of what you first said.
Yes.
And often that can happen. We think we want to move forward on something, but that there are layers beneath that as well. So I'm hearing from you time, delegation, can I even see the value in delegating? Other people are telling me to delegate. I don't know. So is it about time, or is it about delegation?
I guess the bigger picture is certainly time, trying to create more time. Delegating to other people is just one cog in the machine of creating more time, I guess. And I guess I've been working on other factors to create more time. This is one that I'm a bit stuck on, and I understand why people are recommending it, but my previous experience is it creates more work than it saves.
Okay, so it sounds like, and obviously you're in control here of the conversation, but it does sound like that it's the delegation is the topic.
Yes, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, and so the question was, could you repeat that for me again?
The question was, do I think delegating is worthwhile?
Okay. So, so is it something like, is delegation worth my while?
Good question. Yes, yeah, but it is. Is it worth my while? Because I think what I'm sort of hearing from that is it worth other people's development and stuff? I think it probably is. I think there is something to that. So I've really got to work out whether it's worth my while.
Worth your while, okay. So by the end of this conversation, so we've got around 10 minutes left, if you had clarity on is delegation worth my while, is that something that would be useful?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And so can you just let me know how useful that would be for you, like how engaged you'd be in that conversation?
Very.
Very.
Yeah, because it's been occupying a bit of headspace. So.
Okay, so I'm just going to write that down, and what that does, that's kind of like our verbal contract with each other, if you like. So it keeps us on track. There's a structure, obviously, to our conversation, as I know you know, and I will keep you to that within that time. But I do like to spend a bit of time up front just reminding you, making sure we're actually working on the right issue or problem or whatever it is that you want to work on, or skill, solution, and that you go away with whatever's the difference, I guess, that's going to make the most difference for you. Okay, so the question at the moment is delegating or delegation?
Yeah, I'm sort of tossing around between those words too. Is delegating, I think.
Okay, is delegating worth my while? Now, are they your words? Does that sound, or would you say that, ask yourself that question a different way?
Well, I think at the start of this I would have asked it a different way, but through talking about it, definitely has to include worth my while rather than worthwhile just in general, because that's a bit I need to clarify. So yes.
Okay, you comfortable with that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so is delegating worth my while? So what do you sense is the core issue for you when it comes to delegation?
It comes down to whether it's worth putting in the time and effort required to set up a structure where I can delegate more, and whether that's going to improve the amount of time I've got available, and what impact it's going to have on the quality of the work, I guess, of the output.
Okay, so how much time and effort have you put into this up to this point?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Not a lot. I think I've tried delegating before and it hasn't worked for me.
Okay.
But I've probably had some feedback that maybe I didn't stick it out for long enough and therefore see the results. That maybe there is an investment of time up front, but then it pays off down the track. So recently I've really just received this feedback and gone, and just since then been tossing it up as to whether I should take that on board or just keep going the way I have been. So.
Okay, so, and I've heard you say that a couple of times now, about people keep telling me, so it sounds like it might be worthwhile exploring your views on delegation aside from others' views, because we are looking at whether it's worth your while. So do you know what would make it worth your while?
If we're able to work out, okay, the quality of the work's not going to drop off, and I am going to create some time for myself to do other things, then it is worth my while.
Okay, so if quality stays constant, and, sorry, what was the second one?
It creates some time.
And creates time. So quality, constant,
yes,
and creates time.
Creates time.
Okay, so if you were able to get to a point where you could see that delegation was going to keep the quality fairly, consistent or constant, and that you were going to get more time from it, would that be worth your while then?
Yes.
To delegate? Yes. Okay, so that kind of answers that question already. Is delegating worth my while? Yes, if it keeps the quality
Yes.
constant and if it creates more time.
And that's the big if. Yes.
Okay, so the question, it seems like we're recontracting
Okay.
already, and that happens, and that's good because we're going down now another level,
Yeah.
is that, well, I can see the worth of that, but I want to know whether that's possible
Yeah.
to create that worth.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do see that. It's almost a different question, isn't it? It's, is it possible to make delegation worth my while?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so okay. All right. And by saying that, we're getting some level of agreement that if it was to keep the quality constant and it was to create more time, yes, that's worth my while. But is it possible for me to do that at the moment?
Yes.
Okay. So Simon, looking at the fact that we've got roughly sort of 5 to 7 minutes left. What are your thoughts on, if I was just to put a different point of view around, or shift perspective, or perceptual sort of shift, is that what about if the quality dipped, but then it went higher than it had actually been?
Yeah, that would be great.
So what, could you tell me just very briefly, and I am mindful of time, but just very briefly, an experience you've had that's shown you how delegation can work?
I guess I've seen it with other people around me,
Okay.
where they've made the call to delegate because they've just been swamped with things, so they've almost outsourced some of their tasks. And probably in a relatively simplistic way, they've outsourced fairly basic tasks to team members or whatever. And they've certainly found, and these are probably the people saying it to me in terms of that delegation's the way to go, that they've certainly found that it's created some more time for them.
Okay.
And the quality of the work hasn't necessarily dropped off because they've been relatively basic tasks anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I can just sort of push back on that a little bit, because that's my job too, it's just to challenge a few little things that I hear, is how do you know that the quality dropped off or it didn't drop off?
Well, I'm just going on their feedback in their comments in this instance. I don't know because I haven't necessarily seen it all firsthand. I've seen them do it, but I wouldn't know whether the quality's dropped off in their case or not. But they've certainly told me that the quality has stayed at least to the level they expect. Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know, from what I'm hearing, it might be possible that there was a dip, but then it went up, or that it
possibly.
did just say,
Yeah, I guess I'm talking to them after a period of time where
okay.
they've been able to see the results, so that if there has been a dip, it probably hasn't been that relevant that far down the track to them.
Okay, and so what are some ways you could, I guess, get some almost belief around the fact that quality can be sustained when you delegate?
I'm just thinking as we're talking, I'm hearing myself say I haven't really asked them that many questions about the detail and that sort of thing.
And I heard that too,
Is probably that is the first step, is to go back to those people who are suggesting that I should delegate more and almost go back to them and say, look, okay, I need a bit more convincing. What sort of detail have you got? Can you run through what you did and what outcomes you had, and whether there were any dips and all that sort of thing, to get a bit more confidence. Yeah.
Okay, and what might be some other ways to look at quality control, delegation?
Well, the other thing I'm thinking is it's almost, I like to research and I like to be confident about something before I go into it. So probably doing some research, wherever that might be, online or whatever, about delegating, the best ways to go about it and what other people have seen succeed and that sort of thing. So really just reading some textbook stuff about how you should delegate.
Okay, so that's 2 strategies you've already come up with on how you might answer this question of whether or not it's possible for you to actually make it worth your while. So it sounds like there needs to be some more information gathering. And I know from previous experience that does work for you, is that you like to see facts and you want to know how things have worked rather than experiment yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so thinking about what's the link then with quality, so doing more research on quality, and then how that might give you some insights on whether that does actually create time.
Create time. Look, I think that'll come through the research and mainly through talking to these other people in terms of what time it created for them. I think if I can offload a few of the sort of day-to-day tasks that aren't necessarily going to have a huge impact on the final product, the final output, then it will free up, one, my headspace, and two, my time to be able to do the stuff I really need to concentrate on and not get distracted by those other things. So, yeah.
Okay, so just listening to you as well, what do you sense needs to be thought about when it comes to this quality and time for you?
I really think it's just about confidence to give it a go, and to the more I talk about it, because I've just been internalising it, I've just been going round and round in circles, but the more I talk about it, the more I'm thinking, well, it's got to be worth a go. I've got so many people that I value their opinion are telling me you need to do this, that I've at least got to give it a go. So I've got to get to the point where I'm confident enough to give it a go. And to me that means doing the research and doing the background checks about how it works, the best way to go about it, how long I might have to stick it out if there is a quality dip, and then for when it comes up I need to find all that out first.
Okay, and so that detail, I guess, is that's going to give you that confidence that it sounds like when you're trying it, this is normal, or for it to happen this way, and it's not going to be forever that way, or
yeah, absolutely.
does that sound?
Yeah, whereas in the past I've probably sort of seen a bit of a quality dip and just gone, no, look, it's not worth it, I'll go back to my old way of doing it.
All right, okay. So, as you know, part of the coaching process is it's great for us to generate insights, but we need to act. So, what would you be willing, or might you do, to get this started?
Yeah, I need to do those things, do the research online, wherever that leads me. I need to talk to these people. I've got 4 people in mind I need to sort of discuss this with. So yeah, I need to talk to them.
Okay. And what sort of time frame would you be looking at to get that done?
Oh, look, I'd like to, this is, as I said, it's just sort of one cog in the bigger picture, so I'd like to knock it over pretty quickly and go, well, if I am going to go ahead and start delegating, I want to start doing it pretty soon to achieve the outcome that I want. So I'd say by the end of the week I need to do that. By the end of the week? Yeah. Okay.
And just checking in with you, what's the likelihood you'll do it by the end of the week?
Oh yeah, that will happen.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So wrapping up now, so if we just wrap up in the last minute with our conversation, is that I'm really curious to hear about, I guess, what, fresh insights or value you've got out of this conversation.
Yeah, again, I think one of the things I've realised is, I've had all these thoughts going around my head, so the fact, but having it just happen internally hasn't actually resulted in any outcome or decision or anything, so being able to verbalise it has certainly helped that. Insights are, I've certainly been a bit wary about giving this another go, given my previous experience. So to be able to do that, I need to build the confidence that it can work. So
okay, great. And so just from my point of view, just to acknowledge you too, is that that you are willing to, I guess, look at something like this and to revisit it, and that I certainly heard a lot of energy or emphasis on that word confidence. And that seemed to be a bit of a, turning point in the conversation
you're right.
too. I don't know if that's how you felt.
Yeah, that's probably the key to it a bit, is I've got to get that confidence to then be able to start doing it, start implementing it.
Okay, well, just wrapping up now, is there anything else that you wanted to
No, that's great. I feel like I can go forward with that now. I've got a bit of direction rather than just turning it over and over.
Wonderful, and I'll look forward to hearing how you go.
Yes.
Okay,
be good.
Great. Thanks.